everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 22 of Trigun, and yeah, I couldn't wait. No, not after, oh my god, Brad dying, and the ship colliding, and Vash just, heartbroken, crying over the body of this person he knew since he was a kid, and Wolfwood, aka Chapel, going out and taking care of Leonov, and the mystery behind Legato, his connection with knives, what he's planning on doing. We have 5 episodes left of this original series, and then we have a movie, and then we have Stampede. And I am so intrigued to know what the hell we're gonna get. We have 5 episodes. We know Knives is the final boss. We have to make it to Knives. So you know that they're gonna spend at least 2 or 3 episodes doing that. So we really have only 2 or 3 episodes to get to Legato, unless Legato is gonna show up with Knives, and it's gonna be like, if it's gonna be Wolfwood and Vash versus Legato and Knives, I could kind of see that, but then in another vein, I could see them wanting to get rid of Legato first, because Legato and Knives together sounds like a lot. It seems like Vash needs to face Legato, and then he needs to face Knives. Now, I personally think that as cool as it would be to have Wolfwood and Vash versus Legato and Knives, that seems like a little overkill. Maybe we'll do Legato and Mid-Valley versus Wolfwood and Vash. That seems more appropriate, but then and then we get to Knives, and Vash is like, I gotta take on Knives by myself. Sorry guys, I'm gonna handle him my own way. I could see that happening. I could see something like that, but I'm so excited. We've gotten some of the Gung-ho Gang out of the way, but we still have quite a bit to go, so I don't know. The great thing about Trigun at this point is I have no clue where we're going with it. And what we do, it's so episodic. I mean, we have 2-parter episodes like the last couple of weeks, but then other than that, you really don't have an idea of where the story is going and what kind of characters you're going to meet. You just know that the story is slowly treading along to get to this one point, but where it ends up going is not exactly sure. So that's exciting. But before we get started, I want to give a very special shout out over to our philanthropy tier, to the people on Patreon that support me in these reactions. I'm very grateful for your support. I'm so excited that we're going to be spending this fall with Trigun and Trigun Stampede. I've heard some great things about the soundtrack for Trigun Stampede, some really good things about, I've heard the visuals for that series are an acquired taste, but I've watched so many different types of anime at this point that the animation style can be very different, and I'm okay with it. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But I want to give a special shout out to these individuals, to Edgar, to Dana, to Alex Cornejo, to Kiri, to Be Happy, to Shimoyama, to Nameless Monster, to Argent, to Matthew Palfinier, to Ashy Got No Bitches, as well as Tyrone, Anime Annie, Eric, Sunspots, Translucent Men, Goob, Legatus, Anna. Thank you all so very much. I'm so grateful for your support, and I really appreciate all your kindness. All of my love. Mwah. So yeah, throw this for Huckleberry. Get that toy out of here. I'm excited to see what's going to happen. I hope you all are too, but I'm very, very curious what we're going to get with this episode 22. It feels good having 5 episodes left and not like 3, because I feel like things would get rushed, and I know that stuff has probably been cut out of the manga, and we'll cross those bridges when we get to it. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and start, shall we? We're going to start episode 22 of Trigun, and we're going to do that here. And let me get it paused and ready to go here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Man, this episode was just so sad. It was like a sadness sandwich. It was basically, we had a really, really good scene between Vash and Wolfwood at the beginning, and then levity and fun hijinks, and oh no, dune worms, it's the worms from Beetlejuice, and then sadness at the end, because finally, I was waiting for the moment that Wolfwood killing the other Gung-ho Gang members would come to Vash finding out, and we made it. And I think the worst part is that Zazie looked like a kid, even though they weren't. We don't know how old Zazie was, but Zazie looked like a kid. That made it all the worse. This episode definitely felt like the manga will expand upon it. It felt like that, right? I didn't feel like the last 2 episodes had that same feeling, but this episode definitely had that feeling of, oh, the manga's probably going to expand upon this. Is what it felt like. And I was like, okay. But yeah, definitely had that feeling for sure. I'm so sad about Wolfwood because it seems like Wolfwood's just like, I don't want to talk about it right now. I'm not going to do it. I'm like, nope. I feel like we need to find out. I want to know about Wolfwood's connection with the orphanage from back when he was a kid, back when he was, before all this took place, not when he was a kid, but back from before. Like, why did he have an orphanage? Why was he with the kids from the orphanage? It seemed like he had a soft spot for the kids here, which would also influence why he killed Zazie. He's like, the kids are in danger, Meryl and Millie are in danger, Vash is in danger, so this was my path. And we'll talk about the alternative. But just the fact, especially the last 5 minutes went by so quickly that I feel like the manga definitely expands upon this little story here, but we don't have time because we have to get to the next part. So I am going to be excited when I get to the manga and can read this set of chapters when we finally get to it and see what all I've missed. I'm going to be excited about that. That'll be really nice because I feel like it just needs to happen because I feel like so much was left out. I don't want to know. I know it'll take me forever to get to the manga, but I want to be surprised when I get to it. But knowing that there's probably more to the story than what the anime presents, I definitely am looking forward to it. But can we talk about this opening scene? Can we talk about it? I love Meryl and Millie sleeping next to each other. Meryl looks like she's asleep at first, but then we see that she's awake. I just love the firelight, the idea of Vash and Wolfwood next to each other. I like they're brewing the coffee. I was like, are you going to make an Irish coffee, Vash, and pour the whiskey in the coffee? Because I like doing that. But I was like, okay, what are we doing with this? And then the idea of Vash just, like, he feels really bad because, honestly, throughout most of this series, we've not had casualties. Like, there's been people, like, injured, sure. But for the most part, every city, every place that Vash has been, he's been able to save everybody. And this is, like, the first big situation where it feels like Vash is coming to terms with the fact that he couldn't save everybody. There were a lot of casualties, some he knew personally, and now they're dead. And the worst part is that he tells Jessica that it's his fault Brad dies, and she's like, well, no, but she's sad too, and she's like, but it doesn't change the fact that he dies. Saying it's your fault or not doesn't change the fact that he can't come back. And so there is that sadness there, and it just adds to Vash's guilt, right? And so him drinking, I like that Wolfwood takes away being like, you're too much of a lightweight, you can't handle this. And then he tries to lighten up the situation, but Vash is just not having it. And Wolfwood tried to say, we did all we could. It was going to happen eventually. That he calls it fate. If you have to call it something, it's fate. And I love Vash's line there where he's like, don't call it something so simple. Like, it's so much more than just one word, right? He's like, so many died and they won't come back. And he's like, it's my fault that it's happened. And when he says it's more than he can bear, it's like having the weight of these sins on him. It really hurts him. And I like that Wolfwood's just like, he's like, well, then what are you going to do about it? I like that Wolfwood says, look, he's like, I understand the weight of the sins of murder, of people dying and it being your fault, because Wolfwood's killed people too at this point. But he's like, you can't stop. You have to keep going. I'm watching so many series right now where there is the message of you can't stop, you have to keep going no matter what. You started the story, you have to finish it. I feel like that translates to Attack on Titan, it's translated to Vinland Saga, it's in Monster, it's just the idea. I feel like Wolfwood, there's a character in Monster, you all probably know who I'm talking about, but there's a character in Monster that Wolfwood reminds me a lot of, a character that has committed sins but has kind of come to terms with it. And to them, they believe that they don't want to do it, but they believe that if they have to, they will. And Wolfwood reminds me a lot of that character. And I love that character in Monster. But Wolfwood's argument being like, you still have things you have to do. So you have to move forward. I'm like, yes, I love that message. I love how that's portrayed here. And he's like, you have to, and Vash is like, I have to face him. And Meryl being awake and hearing that. We don't see what Meryl's going to do with that knowledge, but she realizes, she's heard the conversation and realizes Vash's guilt. And I think I think Meryl's having trouble right now articulating what to do with that information, because she herself, she hasn't been around as much as Vash. She's not like Wolfwood, where she's encountered people like the enemies that Vash is facing that Wolfwood has. So she's kind of in a weird spot where she doesn't really know. She wants to say something to try to help, but she doesn't know what. And it's a weird predicament to be into when you want to help, but you're not exactly sure how. I honestly love the situation that we have Millie and Wolfwood. We'll talk about them at the end of the episode. But Millie and Wolfwood in the front and Meryl and Vash in the back. I love that the cross is in between Millie and Wolfwood, where he's like, hold on there, little lady. We're not gonna have this too much. I definitely ship Millie and Wolfwood, and I ship Meryl and Vash, and I ship Vash and Wolfwood. So it's just this big square of shipping that we have going on here. But you can tell that Vash has his eyes closed in that scene, even with the sunglasses on. And the moment she like says his name, he's like, But the smile is very forced now. The smile that Vash puts on, it felt so easy and genuine in the beginning, and now it's so forced. Like, Vash does not want to smile. He's very conflicted. His heart is heavy. He knows he has to do things he doesn't want to. He is in a very bad situation, and he's trying to force himself to put on a smile, and it's just like everybody can see right through it, right? At least the three people that are with us can see right through it. And then going to the town, a part of me wanted them to have raided the ship and got like $300,000 to use to pay for them to open up the city, but that doesn't end up being the case. So instead we have the boy, who I thought the boy was a little bit suspicious at first with the little headpiece, because none of the other kids had a headpiece and nobody really questioned it. And then the moment that the worms started attacking and we saw the worms having this shell, I was like, it kind of looks like the same material as the boy's little device there. And then it makes sense now. It's Zazie, and he's using it to control the beast, and he was using it to lure Vash, using Vash's kindness as bait and as a means to get to him, which is so sad. But the worst part is I think they were starting to reach him. That's the worst part. The thing is, you just don't know. And about it, Zazie the Beast, we saw him way back in the episode with Dominique, but that's been so long ago that, like, unless you went back and you, like, paused it, went back and checked, you know, you wouldn't think about it, right? I applaud the series for, like, bringing out these villains, slowly having them all come out one by one, but the one that's, like, the little kid you don't suspect, and then he's so little that, you know, Millie, like, corners him and stuff, and he plays along with the game, that you don't think about it, and then you're like, oh, well, damn. It was him all along. Like, I was very much fooled. I thought the kid was suspicious, but I didn't realize it was Zazie until the very end, right? And then what I love about the orphanage and that entire scene is that Wolfwood very much, because he's been in an orphanage himself, and he's ran an orphanage, or at least we think, right? He seems like a character that would have been in an orphanage and decided to run one after the fact. He knows how the orphans work. He knows how to bribe them with food. He knows that that's mostly like things for survival or what they want. He knows that most of them are scared and unsure, and he's trying to like appease that part but not get too close. Like, Wolfwood handles it very interestingly. And then Meryl and Millie kind of step up as well, and Vash kind of trepidatiously goes along too with it. And Vash saying that everything he touches dies is really sad, and explains why he doesn't want Meryl and Millie there. But Wolfwood being like, you can't be alone. You need to be with someone. I love the dialogue where Meryl's like, this is our emergency rations. He's like, well, this is an emergency. And Millie's like, this is an emergency. We got to eat. We don't get to see a lot of Meryl and Wolfwood's dynamic, but I really like it. I like they're both kind of like tongue in cheek. Like, they both know each other and can read each other out. It's great. And then it's a huge coincidence that in the last 3 months, we've gathered all these orphans here. So, I mean, Zazie gathering all the orphans as a way to lure Vash in, that doesn't seem surprising. What's interesting is the idea that it's been brought up since Vash was found by Wolfwood, that these cities are being abandoned because people are being lured out of them. I don't like where this is headed at all. No, because it feels like Knives and Legato are using the people. They're going to gather them all together as this big bundle of bait for Vash to lure him there. And I'm like, no, stop it. Please stop. I don't want to do that. But yeah, it just feels like it's just luring them there. And I'm like, why? Why are y'all doing this? And so we don't exactly know what the situation is. We don't exactly know, like, the one boy tells them that this has been going on, and we don't exactly know, like, is it Legato that's been luring them away? Is it Mid-Valley and Mid-Valley saxophone, like the Pied Piper, luring them away? What is it? We don't exactly know what's happened with the missing people. It feels very hocus pocus, like, come little children, and except it's like adults. But that's a mystery that I'm sure is going to be solved within the next few episodes. But we go back to Wolfwood talking to Vash and being like, no kid warms up to a guy with an empty smile. Saying, like, kids can see through you being fake. They can see through the facade, so you've got to be genuine with them. And then I just love the idea of Meryl teaching him how to cook. They get, again, this is very 90s where they're like, women, good in the kitchen, am I right? But I'll let it slide. I'll let it slide. I'm like, okay, it was a different time. It's a different time. But I do like that Meryl does cause Vash to have a genuine smile on his face. And Wolfwood notices it. And he's like, he kind of like nudges Vash along, being like, oh, go on. And then Vash gets excited and helps Meryl. I love that. I love that Meryl brings out, Wolfwood brings to the table a very blunt and real side of Vash, where Wolfwood's like, no BS. Let's talk about this for real. Like, that's kind of the dynamic. Millie and Vash are very similar, so I don't really ship Millie and Vash. They're far too similar to each other, where they're just like happy-go-lucky folks. It's too much sunshine, him and Millie. Wolfwood brings this realism to his dynamic with Vash, and I really like that. I like how they both can be real with one another, and Vash seems to put down some of his walls around Wolfwood, or he did up until now. Now Vash is mad at him, but they put down their walls and talk to one another. And then Meryl kind of brings out this genuine joy in Vash. So you have Wolfwood, who Vash feels like he put down his walls and talked to genuinely and authentically. And then you have Meryl, who kind of brings out Vash's authentic self. So that's why I ship them both with him. Like, they bring out interesting dynamics with Vash, which I really like, right? And so then we have them all eating together, and like all the donuts. The worst part is you see like Zazie like helping the kids out, like playing the part. Like, and you wonder if there was a part of Zazie that did connect with these kids, that did kind of like the facade, and then he felt like he had no choice but to be a demon. That's the thing. Wolfwood brings up the idea. He's like, what alternative do I have? He's like, to fight monsters, we have to become monsters. And Vash is like, no, that's not the case. We can talk it out. We can make it work. If there's a misunderstanding, we can talk it through and then gain understanding and solve the problem. Which, yes, that is the ultimate goal. Wolfwood's just like, in this place, how do we do that? He's like, I don't know if Wolfwood acknowledging, he's like, I can't be like you. I'm not a saint like you. And he's like, I was waiting for Wolfwood to admit that he was one of the Gung-ho Gang, that he was a demon. And I feel like it's going to come out maybe in the next couple episodes. Wolfwood's going to tell Vash, he's like, I'm a demon too. This is all I know. And I hope that Vash does some talk no jutsu to be like, you know, you're way better than that. You think that you're a demon, but you're not. And I would love it if Millie would tell him that. I would love it if Millie was like, you're not the demon that you think you are. You know, which the idea of a priest being a demon is such a cool concept to like twist it up, right? But yeah, Wolfwood's just like, we're all demons and this is the only way we can fight each other. And Vash is like it's so funny with the concept of angels and demons. You have Vash, who some people call a demon, but Rim called an angel. And which is it? Does it matter? And then you have Wolfwood, who believes that the Gung-ho Gang are all demons, but do they have to be? And it's just, because I would say that probably some of those kids, like Millie, might consider Wolfwood to be an angel. So I want to get a picture real quick of Wolfwood with that stupid, like, Superman cup. Like, what the hell? Like, that is such a cheesy image. I freaking love it, though. Like, what an icon. And then Zazie, like, crying in his sleep. And for a second, I thought that Zazie was going to say it was an act, but it's not. He says, no, it's not an act. He just denies it, right? But it's the idea that Zazie doesn't think that there was any alternative. He had to become a demon. That was the only way to survive. And Vash tries to tell him, no, that's not. And I do think that it might have taken some time, but I think he could have talked Zazie off the ledge. But Wolfwood didn't give him that opportunity. And there's so many what ifs that you just don't know. Like, the what if scenario makes it really hard to tell what could have happened, right? We just don't know. But that idea, and I think Vash seeing that vulnerability with Zazie was really what pushed him to believe, like, no matter what, even if Vash was suspicious of him, thinking, well, we're all just, this is just the type of person that we are. He's like, but if I take too long, they'll make another move. And that's the problem. They did take too long. And Vash is like, gotta get to Legato and knives. So then our guys, they like have drinks or whatever, and then the thing about it is Mid-Valley shows up, right? Mid-Valley shows up and he's killed the two guys. I'm like, oh my God, and Legato is there waiting for them. So regardless of what happens in the next episode, we've not left the town. Legato is there. Mid-Valley is there. The rest of the Gung-ho Gang, for all we know, is there. So this guy at the end of the episode with his own little cross of truth, he could be Chapel. It could be that they have the guys that they... it could be that when they said you're Chapel, that Wolfwood was like, don't say that name. It could be that Wolfwood's not Chapel. It's actually this other guy with the bowler hat and the cross of his own. It could be him. I didn't think about that. It could be that he's not Chapel, but the other guy is. Interesting. And just the idea that Wolfwood wakes up with the gun, thinking that he was suspicious, is telling as well. And so yeah, they all get down. And they're like, and Vash is like, we just need to reason with them. Reasoning's the only way out of a misunderstanding. And Wolfwood's like, that's great, but we're going to reason with these hotheads. And Vash is like, I'm going to try. And the thing about it is, Vash's whole thing is no matter what happens, just keep trying, keep reasoning. And Wolfwood, you tell Wolfwood gets really frustrated when they're trying to negotiate with them. But in the end, it gets them into the city. Because they end up not hurting the guys, and they end up not hurting them. And they do end up talking it out. So Vash is like, yeah, I ended up getting injured, sure, but we did manage to talk it out and get to where we could go into the city. So it's not glamorous. It's not, it's not posh. It's not glamorous. It's not, doesn't seem like, you're a champion when you do it. But it was a way to get everyone in the city without anyone dying. And yeah, he had to struggle for it, but to Vash, it was worth it. And that's so sad. The not killing the worms bit was, I know it was meant to be humorous, where he's like, we can't kill the worms. And I feel like that's more for the humor, but it makes sense for Vash. Vash, as we established back in episode 17, Vash wants to save the spiders and the moths. And that includes all creatures. He considers all living things to be valid. I'm like, well, you did eat a chicken, though. So you did kill the chicken to eat it. It's okay to kill these worms that are attacking you. The funny part is he says, oh, don't kill the worms. But then they destroy the buildings that knock the worms out and potentially kill them. So it's funny in a roundabout way. But it's Vash's character, right? So it makes sense. And then they go in the city and they try to get a high ground. I love all the kids just like surrounding Meryl. They're like all like around her trying to get help. And including Zazie. And she's just like, what do we do? And I like that we end up splitting off. The one kid like wets his pants. I like that they do show a realistic reaction where a kid wetting his pants. I'm like, that's a realistic response to giant worms. That makes sense. And Millie goes after him and then Wolfwood follows. I like that we split them up. And Vash says, it's all right. He's with them. Now, is that mentality going to change the next 4 episodes? Now they've seen Wolfwood kill Zazie? I don't know. But the fact remains that when they were being attacked and right before it was the little communication device was destroyed, Wolfwood was going to try to kill the worm to save Millie. I love that. He was going to try to protect her. And just the shot of Vash when he runs past Zazie and then shoots. I love the idea of the gun behind him, like shooting Zazie's controller. That was such a badass shot. I loved that. And then Zazie reveals himself. The 4th Gung-ho Gang member, Zazie the Beast. So, we know that Leonov was the second? Right? Who was the 3rd? Somebody was the 3rd from way back. I feel like Mid-Valley is the 1st Gung-ho Gang, and then Legato is the leader. I feel like Mid-Valley is the 1st Gung-ho Gang. Zazie was the 4th. He's like, I hate children. They get weepy, depressed, and brush their teeth when they're told because they're too stupid to do it otherwise. the funny thing is he projects a lot of his own insecurities in this moment of how he hates kids when he himself, we don't know how old Zazie is, but he seems like he's not too old, so he's kind of still like a child himself, right? Especially in comparison to Vash, right? Especially in comparison to him. But him with the guns, he's like, they lack free will. And that seems to be his big thing, is that he wants to be able to be free to do his own thing. And I'm sure Legato promised him, like, if you become a Gung-ho Gang member, you can be free to do whatever you want. You just have to do things if I ask you to every now and then. You know, no big deal. Right? It's just really sad because I feel like if Zazie truly was evil and truly, like, I don't think Legato would hesitate. But I think because Zazie hesitated so much, he wasn't really going to do it in the end. He was really debating it himself. And I think Vash could have talked him down from the ledge. But by the time that Wolfwood and them get back, all Wolfwood sees is Meryl with a gun to her head and the kid, and Vash in the same boat. And Wolfwood's like, well, Vash is probably going to get himself hurt. And then what about the kids? And Wolfwood knows from them being on the flying ship that a lot of the Gung-ho Gang members have no problems with killing people. So in Wolfwood's mind, he's like, we just got off a ship where 3 Gung-ho Gang members killed all these people. This kid has guns pointed at you. How am I to know if he's going to do it or not? And Vash is like, well, but we could have talked him down, right? And Vash, God, when he says something and it like he strikes him in the shoulder, that was like, oh my God. And Zazie says, as a demon, I'm able to block off my consciousness and memory. And Vash is like, that's bullshit. It's not true. I thought he was going to keep shooting Vash, but he doesn't. And he's like, come on, I'm not armed. He's like, I'm not armed, let's do this. And you can kind of see him where he's thinking about, Zazie was thinking about it. And then he gets shot out. Just got shot. They don't show any blood in this moment, which I'm glad, because I think he looks like a kid. They can't do that. And then we see Wolfwood. And Meryl's like, what did you do? I like that Meryl calls him out. And Meryl's like, how could you? And then Vash just walks over to him and grabs him. I love the confrontation between them. Why did you shoot him? Kids are kids, but he was a demon. And just the context there where he's like, if I didn't shoot him, you'd be lying there. And he's like, you don't know, you're wrong. And I just love that idea of Vash being like them coming to terms where Wolfwood's like, this is where I'm drawing the line. And disagreeing with you and him punching him. And the sad thing is, when he looks up at Millie looks so disappointed in him. And you could just tell Wolfwood is so sad in that moment. Wolfwood's like, he's like, what alternative do I have? I like Wolfwood saying that, acknowledging like, you're Vash the Stampede. You're like a literal god. Like, you are literally stronger than all of us. You may have alternatives. You're going to live through this. He's like, but what choice do I have? I'm just a human. And Vash, of course, would argue that fact, right? What alternative do I have? And when he looks at Millie, I like that he looks at Meryl and Millie, but he focuses in on Millie. And then he just looks so sad in that moment. And he just closes his eyes. You can tell he's in pain. And then Vash is like, we're just searching for a place where we can live in peace without war and stealing things, where people can live as people. And Wolfwood's like, just don't tell me your dreams in a place like this. I like that Wolfwood's like, that's all nice and good that you want to have this peaceful place, but he's like, does this look like the place where that's going to happen? And we've known following Vash around that Vash believes that it can be, but Wolfwood is just like, he's such a realist that he's like, I don't know. And that shot of him walking away, like he just walks past Millie and he just looks so forlorn, and he has the cross over his shoulder, and Millie and Meryl are holding the kids. And then we cut back to this other guy with a cross who like is dressed very similarly to Wolfwood and looks like a priest as well and has the green apple. I think he's Chapel. I think he is Chapel, and the people on the ship were confused. I think Wolfwood might have grown up around Chapel, but Chapel's the one, he's the member of the Gung-ho Gang, and Chapel might have been a disciple. He might have been like adopted by him, like fostered by him, but I don't think, I was so convinced that Wolfwood was Chapel, and now I'm like, no, this guy is with the green apple. It's just sad. And Wolfwood's just like, he just walks past him and doesn't say a word. And like Millie just looks at him, but she doesn't know what to say either. It's really sad. I feel for Wolfwood because I see Wolfwood has this struggle of he knows the cruelties of this world that are capable of happening, but then he sees somebody like Vash who just tries so hard to rise above it, and he's like, I just don't know how you can do it, you know. And Wolfwood, I feel like he's like, you can do all these things that I can't. And the same with Millie. He's like, you guys have such this optimistic spirit, and you can do things I can't. I just don't know what to do in this situation. It's really sad. But yeah, my heart goes out. It goes out to them so much, and I don't know. We only have 4 episodes left. So we're closer to Legato, and I have a feeling, I don't know. I have a feeling we have to get through whoever this guy is. I think he's Chapel, showing up to face Wolfwood. I think Wolfwood has this challenge next. Whoever, because if this guy has the same type of gun that Wolfwood has. Did Wolfwood steal the cross from him, the cross gun? Probably did. So is he going to have to face this guy, the Chapel guy, next? And Mid-Valley's there, so is Mid-Valley and Legato going to come out while he's facing him? I don't know. We only have 4 episodes left, and we still got to get through Legato, Mid-Valley, Knives, and this guy. It seems like a lot. Seems like a lot to do in 4 episodes, but we'll see, right? We'll see. But I loved this episode. The animation had peaks and valleys. There were some moments where the animation was really like not great, but then there were moments where the animation and the up close facial expressions were good, especially with Vash and Wolfwood. So I'm torn, y'all. But man, I give the episode props for some of the stylistic stuff, especially towards the beginning and then there at the end. But damn. So I'm curious to know your thoughts down below, what you all thought of this episode. But we got 4 episodes left, and I'm not sure I'm ready. So what can we do, though? But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yeah, I'll be back very soon with more Trigun.